What's up, everyone? So it's brew day today for the Belgian quad. Got my pot going here, going to show that. I'm going to get mashed in here pretty soon. It's actually kind of funny. Let's see if I can find the piece here. I don't know what I did with it. This little piece on my burner busted, a little feed into it, and for the last couple hours I had to drive around looking for it, and I ended up having to buy a whole new line. Basically, I was getting to the point of having to buy a turkey fryer or something like that just in order to get the line, but thankfully found a place that had one. So that being said, it's going right now. That was the piece that broke, so thankfully that's in. I'm gonna get this up right now. The water just got in there, so it's just 55 degrees, so it'll take a little while to warm up. It's about 5.5 gallons in there right now. So here's what we're going to be brewing. Here's our grains and our candy syrup and our hops and everything. So I'll just go through what we're going to do real quick. Basically, I'm going to mash in with this at 132 degrees for 10 minutes. I'm going to do a protein rest, and then I'm going to bring it up to 149 for 60 minutes. That's a saturated rest, and then we're going to mash out at 170 for 10 minutes, or 168. Like I said, I had 5.5 gallons in there, 5.5 gallons for the mash, and then after that, we'll do our sparge, and we'll get everything ready. So we'll show that in the next video, but we're ready to roll. So as soon as that's heated up, we'll put the grains in, and we'll go from there. Alright, so the water just hit 132. We're going to add our grain now and do our protein rest. So I'm going to add about half of this right now. This is basically just an even amount of Belgian Pilsen malt and Belgian pale malt. Make 8 pounds of each. So we're going to go ahead and dump, like I said, about half of that in there. Give that a mix to try to avoid some clumps. I'm not sure if you can see in there or not from where I've got the camera set up, but basically we just want to make sure we don't have clumping along the false bottom. We want to have a nice even flow through the grain bed as it settles here. So we're going to add the rest of this, and then we're gonna let it sit for 10 minutes, like I said. Then I'm gonna turn my burner back on. I'm gonna bring it up to 149. I'm gonna leave it at that for 60 minutes. That's my main mash out, and then, or my saturated, and then after that, I'll do a 10-minute mash out with it just under 170. So I'll come back at the end of that, at the end of the 170, and we'll go from there with sparging and all that. And the other thing is, with this setup here, because it's right directly on the burner, if the temperature's off a little bit, nice thing is you just turn your burner back on, you bring it right back to where you need it, you shut it off, you're good to go. So I'm going to add the rest of the grain, and we'll see you guys as we get ready to sparge. So as this is doing its protein rest, I can go over real quick what the point of this is. If you bring it all the way up to the full temperature, the 150 or so, at originally, which is okay. A lot of the grains now are good for that. It's not a big deal. But you kill the proteins in there. After you get over that temperature, they're not viable anymore. So if you start slow, you pull the proteins out, you get that flavor, and then as you bring it up, then you're going to start bringing out your starches and everything that basically adds the alcohol and everything like that. That's going to bring out the sugars and all that to bring out your best part for making, where most of the flavor is, most of the alcohol is. And then the final thing, when we bring it up just under 170, basically the point of that one is that at that point you're just under where the tannins start coming out, like for wine and things like that. You start tasting those. You don't want that in beer, so you want to stay under 170. But what you can do in bringing it up there is you're actually adding as much flavor as possible, especially for a more complex beer. So basically I'm going through 3 levels in my mash here to get the most flavor profile possible. It's really not a whole lot of work. with this setup because I just turn my heat on, bring it up to the next level, bring it up to the next level continually, and that's it. If you're using a cooler, you're probably just going to go with one single infusion malt and just be done with that, as opposed to going through all these steps. But for this, like I said, not really any extra work, and does add more complex flavors to your beer. So we just finished our protein rest. There's the grains in there. Don't really want to take this cover off more than I need to, so that'll probably be the last time I do that. Gonna bring this up. As you can see, I lost some temperature. Not a big deal on the protein rest. On this rest, I want to kind of keep it stable, so I'm going to get it up to the 149 and then as quickly as possible and leave it there. It is pretty cold outside, and the grain is a little chilly too, so that's obviously brought the temperature down in there. So not a big deal for the protein, but then again on the next rest here, the long run, for first 60 minutes, I'm going to get this up to just under 150, let it sit for an hour. So that's where that's at right now, and we'll be back for the sparge. All right, so the mash is done. We're at basically right under 170, exactly what I want it to be at. What we're going to do here in a minute is we're going to recirculate onto our grain bed, try to set it. So we have our grain in here, and my little homemade contraption here. That pot is at 170, that's our sparge water. So we're going to bring that down, gravity feed over our fly arm here, sparge, and then it'll come into our kettle. Right now I'm just going to open this up and get some wort out. It's going to have some grain in it right now. That's just the way it always is at the beginning, which is why we do this recirculation. So we're going to probably do this a couple times just to try to get some nice clear flowing wort. As you can already see, it's already much clearer. So it's a little hard to do this and hold the camera, but we're gonna shut this off here. Add this back into our grain. I actually should have done this before I put my sparge arm on, but that's okay. Try not to disturb our bed too much. And we'll do it one more time. We're going to see what so that's much clearer this time. That grain that's in there was what was on the side of the bowl still. So, and some's going to come through. There's really no way around that. That'll all fall into the bottom of the fermenter. But we want to try to get it as clear as possible. So we're going to take this out like so. I'm going to put my kettle down here now. And again, we're going to put this back in. And we're going to begin the sparge. So I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to turn my valve on to get some of this water out. We don't want a huge amount coming out. We just want a light trickle, because we want to do this for about an hour or so. So we've got our sparge going. I actually may adjust this arm here a minute. It's a little high, so I'm going to push this down after I shut off this video. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to get about an inch or so of water on top of the grain, and then I'm going to open up this side here, start filling the kettle. Alright, so I brought my arm down a little bit, As you can see, just a light trickle coming in, staying about an inch above the water. I'll adjust that as need be. There's about 4.5 gallons in there. And then it comes down, and again, a nice light flow coming down here. I want to have this take about an hour or so. I got to collect 7 gallons, which is right between those two rivets there. So when I get between those two, I'll have my 7 gallons, and then I can start my boil after that. So we're going to go ahead and let this run. Like I said, it'll probably take about an hour or so, and we'll go from there. So this is still holding good heat. Not really a problem at this point because that water is 170 degrees coming in anyway, and everything's looking good. So we'll let this run, and we'll come back for the boil. I do want to add, this is one step you don't really want to skimp on. I mean, you can see there's not a whole lot of water coming out. It's slow. I shouldn't say skimp on. You don't want to rush. It's a slow trickle coming out, just putting, like I said, about an inch or so on top of the grain, and then coming down here and filling this slowly. And basically the reason for that is it's passing through this grain, and it's stripping those sugars, and it's stripping those flavors, the carbohydrates, all the different flavors stuff that comes from that, and it's taking time passing through and coming down. If you do it fast, you're going to leave a lot in here, and that's not what you want to do. You want to try to get as much as you can out of your grain. So you want to take slow here with your sparge, let it take some time, let it work its way down, come down, hit the grain bed slowly. Like I said, keep about an inch or so of water on top, and then come down here and fill up your pot slowly, and then you'll have you'll basically get the best yield you possibly can for brewing your beer. Alright, so the sparge is done, and now we are getting ready to boil. Flames on, got this going. We're going to open this up. I am right at my 7-gallon mark, just like I want to be. It's a little bit bubbly because I had to pour some in from another kettle. It's a little bit smaller. Doesn't have a valve on it, so I used it to collect my wort, and then I'm going to put it in. I have to say the calculations were like spot on. The thing basically gave me like 7 gallons right at the end. I mean, here's the grain that's left, as you can see there. For beer purposes, I mean, it's pretty dry, what's left there. The water came out. It basically was down to a trickle at the end. That was all that was left, so there's a little bit left, but pretty much dead on with the calculations. And now all we gotta do is get this up to boiling. And when we do, at 60 minutes, we're going to throw in some hops, and then we'll do another round at 30, another at 15, and then we'll flame out, and we'll get it cooled down as quickly as possible. So we'll come back as it's boiling, and do our first step. Alright, so as you can see, we've come to a boil now. So we are going to start with our first hops right here, our Brewer's Gold. Not a whole lot of hops in this brew, just 3 ounces. It's definitely a malt heavy brew, so we're going to pour these in. Let that kind of get eaten up. We'll stir that in a second. Start our timer. I've just got this simple little timer right here. And grab the stirrer here. Give this a quick little stir to try to knock those down. And basically now this is just going to boil for half an hour. And then after that, we'll throw in the next hops at 30 minutes. And then at 15, we've got a few things going in. So we'll leave this for now, and we'll come back. Hops were just added about a minute ago, and as you can see, nice rolling boil going there. I just turned my heat down a little bit, and we're going to let this run for another 28 minutes before we worry about our next group. So I'm going to go clean up a little bit, clean up my my mash tun and all that, and then we'll come back in about 28 minutes, throw in the next group, and then at 15 minutes we're going to throw in the chiller along with the last ingredients. Alright, we're just about at a half an hour. When the timer goes off, we're going to throw in the next bunch of hops. You probably can't see the line through all that steam, but we're right about 6.5 gallons, which is perfect. We're halfway through, and I basically wanted to pull about 6 gallons out, so that's pretty good. As you can see here, about 2 minutes, 20 seconds, 30 minutes and 20 seconds left. You see the recipe there. It's actually a Northern Brewer recipe. I didn't go with their kit directly. I kind of saw their recipe online and played with it a little bit. You can kind of see my notes on the side that I was messing around with, just adding some stuff and changing some stuff. But hadn't really messed around with a quad. This is actually the first time I've used these hops. Very interesting. Smelled them. Probably the least hoppy hop I've ever used. So, pretty interesting. So we're right at 30 minutes now. I'm going to go ahead and add those. Stir that in. I apologize for these angles, for these views. It's obviously my first time doing this. You know, I'll get a better system set up with the tripod and things like that for the future. So I'm hitting my ball valve, if you're wondering what that noise is, down the bottom. So nice boil going there. We're going to leave this for about 15 minutes, and then we're going to add in the final ingredients. It's getting cold. It's a little bit after the sun just went down over the mountains up there. It's a little bit after 5 o'clock right now, and it's December 29th, so it is pretty chilly out. So I'm looking forward to, I got a late start because of the having that fitting break, so looking forward to being done here in about a half an hour and getting this chilled as quickly as possible and getting back in. It even next to the burner here, it's still pretty chilly. So you can see nice burn going, smells good. So we'll be coming back in about 13 minutes now to add the final ingredients. All right, so we're just at about 15 minutes now. We're gonna do our final steps here. Put the lid down. First thing we're going to do is add our last pack of hops, so our last ounce. Styrian Goldings hops, I've used those. So 3 ounces. I haven't used this before, so this is the first time with this. D180, this is a candy syrup. I know people have used the sugar. I got a very dark one for what I'm trying to make, so we're going to go ahead and pour that in. This is a pound, and I actually got 2 pounds of it. So we're going to dump that in. I tasted it beforehand. Definitely has that quad, Belgian quad taste. So there's 1. There's 2. I'm going to give this a stir after I put this in because I don't want that to stick to the bottom, being candy syrup. So we're going to put that in. I've read a few different things about when to put that in and all that. So some people do it in secondary, some people do it in primary, some people do it in the boil, some people do it at flame out. From what I've read, it seems about 15 minutes or flame out is the best time to do it, and you also don't need as much. So only one way to find out, obviously, is to test it. I've never made this before. First time trying to make a quad. So it smells good. So we're going to let this boil now for a few more minutes. And I'm going to throw in a teaspoon of Irish moss at this point as well. That's basically just for clarifying. That's all it does. Adds a little bit more clarity to your brew. And I'm also going to put in my wort chiller at this point. This will sterilize this, so I don't need to worry about it after. I'm just going to put these over here to make sure they don't get too close to the heat. Because obviously if they hit in over here, they're going to melt. So we don't want that. So we just want to stretch these out and make sure that they're a good distance away from that flame. And then as soon as the boil's done, when I'm done talking here, actually, I'm going to go connect my hose to this so that this is ready to run. And in 15 minutes or so, actually about 12 and a half minutes now, we'll turn this on, and we're going to try to get this down to 70 degrees as quickly as possible. All right, so we hit flame out. We're doing our rapid cool now. wort chiller is connected to the hose. And coming back through and down and going out my driveway over here. Let's see how warm that water is. It's actually, for just starting, it's just warm. It's usually really hot. This water is probably not much over 40 degrees, if that. It's really pretty cold out. I actually had ice in my line earlier. So that being said, I'm hoping it chills it even faster. So we'll see how quickly it works. We only turned it on about a minute ago, but we'll see where it goes, and we'll come back to this in a minute. I'm actually pretty happy with everything as well. Again, you probably can't see those lines through all that steam, but we are just over 6 gallons on the markers, which is like exactly what I was shooting for. So all of the numbers came out like perfect. As far as the mash, the sparge water, all the calculations came out great. So we'll be doing a whirlpool on this shortly, and then we'll be throwing it into the fermenter. All right, so we're done with the chilling. I have to say, being out here in the cold, temperature outside is about 20, and the water was frigid. I don't think it took more than 15 minutes to chill that, so that was pretty nice. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the whirlpool. I actually have not used this. I just got it from a brew store out in California. I'm going to put their information below. But basically, you run this for about 15 seconds in there, and it tries to get everything kind of into the center, like in a cone, so you're not sucking that grain in. You can build one with a pump, take it out, bring it in up here, and recirculate your wort to do that, but it's a little bit more pricey. You got to buy a pump, you got to go through all that. I mean, this is, they said 15 seconds or so, and basically it's going to do about the same thing. So we'll find out. So we're going to put this in, and we're going to let it run. And here we go. I have to say, that surprised me. That had a lot of torque on it. It really took off. I was not expecting that. So hopefully it achieved its purpose. I mean, that was, you saw the funnel. So again, my first time using it, so we'll find out. And I'll do a follow-up on it after. But I'm hoping it worked well. And like I said, I'll put their information below for anybody that's interested in checking out that product. I think it was like 30 bucks or something like that. So a lot cheaper than making one yourself. So this is chilled now. I'm going to let it sit for a couple minutes, basically just to go down and have that funnel come up, and then I'm going to put it into my fermenter. We'll go from there. So I don't know if you can see what's going on here or not, but basically what I decided to do was there's the wort that's all been chilled, went through the whirlpool. Here's my line coming down. And basically I just decided to fill it through a grain bag that was sanitized. Haven't tried that before, but I figured try to filter out as much as I possibly can of stuff getting in and keep the beer as clear as possible. So that's what I'm doing. So that will be filled shortly. We'll bring it in, we'll pitch the yeast, and we'll go from there. So trying a couple new things, the whirlpool and this bag. Just trying to do as much as I can to keep it as clear as possible. All right, couple of observations while I'm still outside. Got basically exactly what I wanted out of that. You can definitely still see the particles floating in there and stuff. But this is what was in that grain bag. So running the tube through, I think definitely was useful. I mean, that's probably, I don't know, 2 pounds worth of grain and hops that didn't come through. The other thing is, I think the whirlpool thing worked pretty well as well. Well, it's kind of hard to tell here, but let me stick my hand in here. But look at right here is a nice pyramid of just gup. So it really did make a nice cone for all that. So just a couple observations so far. It's looking pretty good with both of those things. So we'll see how it turns out from there. All right, so we got the funnel in here. We're at 70, 72 degrees. A lot of stuff floating around in there, but that's fine. Didn't open that yet. Actually, I'll do that as soon as I pour our yeast in. So we are ready to add the yeast. So let's go ahead and do that. I pulled the magnet, the stir plate out. So we'll add this to our beer. The volume was like perfect the whole way around. So that's pretty good. So we got our yeast in. Take the funnel out. Stopper's in the other room and sanitizer. I'll go open that, but we'll give this thing a quick little shake. Just to, you can see the bubbles on top. Give it some aeration. We'll come down here. You can already see all that stuff floating to the bottom. Look how much more is down there. And then up here. So it's good. It's doing what it's supposed to. We're going to open this. Which did a nice little job of adding some oxygen and aerating. You can see all that there. So we'll put the stopper in and we'll come back to this in a few hours and see how it's progressing. All right, inside now and warm. Finished the Belgian quad. A couple observations here. First, I did decide to put it all in one video. I said yesterday I wasn't going to, but it wasn't all that long. So I figured that would be easier. Second, I don't know what the original gravity is here. Unfortunately, my hydrometer broke. That's the second time I broke one of those. So I've got to go on and get something else. I think I'm going to get a bricks meter to start checking it. It's just, I don't have a brew store nearby that was open late enough. It's Friday to go and get one, and I just didn't want to wait to pitch my yeast and all that, so I just decided to put it in. Everything else lined up perfectly, so hopefully I got a max out of my grain and everything's looking pretty good. Like I said, throughout the videos, the other points, my measurements were like spot on, and I literally, when it was done, had like exactly 6 gallons. So it was like right what I was shooting for. So everything came out kind of right where I wanted. So pretty happy about that. As you saw, the yeast was pitched. First time using a few things. First time using the mash kettle. I've done it with coolers before. I haven't done it with the kettle much faster. So I was happy about that. You can adjust the temperature right there to keep everything going, so that was nice. Also, first time brewing since we moved, now that we're in the mountains and it's colder. It's definitely was interesting as far as how cool I could get the beer, how quickly I could get the beer cooler. So that was pretty interesting as well. And the whirlpool worked great, so I do recommend that. Again, I'll put the link below to where I got that. Nice little tool that worked out well. And like I said, that grain bag did catch a lot when I was filling up the fermenter, so I'm trying to keep as little in there as possible. There's still a ton in it. You'll see in the follow-up videos, but I'm happy with how much it did catch. So overall, everything went well. Please leave comments below. Let me know what you think. I'm by no means any sort of master brewer. I've only been doing this a few years. I've probably made about a dozen or so beers. I'm just really trying to push my limits and do a little more and more and more with it. So happy to get some feedback. So thanks for watching. I hope you subscribe and let me know what you think. Talk to you later.